One of the biggest benefits of being a DJ is the fact that you are your own boss. You have nobody telling you what to do. You decide how long you want to work, how often you want to work, the fees that you charge. You have complete control of everything, and I think that is such a massive benefit. However, on the flip side of it, this also brings around quite a lot of admin as well. You are responsible for maintaining your records when it comes to your calendar and your bookings. You have to be organized when it comes to that. You have to send timely invoices, and also you have to be chasing people when they don't pay you on time. This admin is the part of the job that I absolutely hate. And so I sat there thinking, what if I could develop some kind of system, some kind of platform that makes all of this feel a lot more effortless? And that is exactly what I've done, and I am ready to share it with all of you guys that are watching so that you can spend more time focusing on what you love rather than loads of boring admin at home like me on a Sunday afternoon. And so by the end of this video, you will see all of this platform's features, functionality, and then you can decide whether it's something that might be right for you. So the URL that you are going to need in order to access this app is trywrapped.app. It is down below and also down in the description. It works on desktop, I've got it there in the background, and it also works very well on mobile. Today's demonstration I'm going to be doing on mobile. I'm literally going to screen share, so apologies if I'm not looking on camera. I'm literally just screen recording right now as I talk you through it, and I think it actually works best on mobile. It is a web app only at the moment, but I am working to get this onto the App Store. So when you first sign in and first sign up, you're going to be taken to this dashboard screen. It doesn't look too exciting at the moment because we haven't added any bookings, but what you're going to want to do is click on the cog in the top right and then add in some simple details about your business name, address, the currency that you get paid in. It does support multiple currencies. This can be amended on an invoice by invoice basis. So say for example, me, I will always invoice in pounds, but if I was invited to a gig in Spain and I need to invoice one-offs in euros, then you can change that on an invoice by invoice basis, but it will always default back to the currency that you've set it in your profile. Payment terms, pretty standard 30 days, but you can change that if you want. And again, much like the currency, if you have different invoicing terms with different clients, then you can adjust that on an invoice by invoice basis. You then put in your payment details, so where do you want to get paid? Very important to note that this app does not handle money directly. You will always get paid directly by your clients. If you charge tax on your invoices, just toggle this on. Put your tax name in, like here in the UK it's VAT, in the US I think it's sales tax, and then you also have the default rate. Again, customizable if you want to on an invoice by invoice basis, but it will always default to what you've saved in the profile. The profile saves as you go. You then got your invoice numbering there, and then a couple of paid for upgrades. Branding first and foremost. This app, by the way, is available for free, and the majority of features in terms of managing all of your bookings and your invoices is available for free with no usage limits and no obligation to upgrade. I want to make this as accessible to as many people as possible. There are, however, a couple of features that do require a paid upgrade, and those are the features where I actually incur a cost for hosting certain things. So if I mention it's a paid upgrade, those are the reasons why, but it is still very, very affordable. Branding is one of those things where you can upload a logo, choose a color that you want to add to your invoices, or if you have a specific color in mind, you can put the color code in, and then you also get 3 invoice styles to choose from. Underneath here, we have our invoice emails. Now you can email yourself a copy, very, very useful to do, but if you want to toggle that off, you can. And then here we have our invoice templates. So here you can customize exactly what is sent to your client, and it is emailed directly from the app. That is a paid for upgrade. If you are on free, you can still generate invoices using this app, but you have to download the invoice and then you send it via your own email service. The invoice emails service is really if you want to email directly from the app, and that is the paid upgrade. And that is as simple as it gets when it comes to generating your business profile. Now let's go on to the bookings tab. So this is where the fun really begins. So we're going to click on either bookings or the big green plus sign in the corner. Now, to begin with, you're going to have to add in some details about your client. So your organization name, the venue or contact information, phone numbers, all of that kind of stuff, email addresses, invoicing email address. Now, the reason why there's so many different options here is because, say, for example, you're DJing at a nightclub. Your day-to-day contact at the nightclub might be Ben, who's the boss. But the invoice needs to go to head office. So for that reason, I put my email address as Ben, but then I put my invoicing email address as the head office email address. And then say, for example, I want to copy in Ben, again, that's where you put in the secondary invoice contact. Now, these are all optional because, say, for example, you want to just invoice Ben directly, you just leave the other boxes blank and it will just invoice to the email address that is at the top there. Then you've got your invoicing frequency. So after each booking, if you're doing more than one event at each venue, then you can combine everything into a weekly or a monthly invoice. So say, for example, you've got a residency and it's every Wednesday and every Friday, then you can combine everything all together. Now, the great news is that once you've added that client, if you work for them again, you do not need to add in that information every single time. So here's one I made earlier. So I'm going to pick that from my list. So let's do fabric events at the Old Mill. So that is in my client list. So these are some clients that I saved earlier. So for this booking, because I've already worked for them, I'm just going to add them as fabric. And then we come on to our booking information. So the service provided is a DJ. Service type is club DJ. You don't need to fill this in. The only reason the service type is a thing is, say, for example, you do club DJing, mobile DJing, and you want to separate the two by filters at the top of your booking summary. You can actually filter by the service type. That's the only reason, but some people might not want to use this. Then you put in your date. So let's do that as today, Sunday the 23rd. The start time is at 9 a.m. The end time is at 10 a.m. Now the end date I'm going to leave blank because it's the event is just happening today. The end date is really there. Say, for example, you're booked at a festival and the festival is over 3 days and you want to block out your calendar for the 3 days because you've got several different sets across that weekend, but you want to combine all of those sets into one invoice. That's where you'd use the end date. The frequency is actually a new residency, so I'm going to say it's weekly because I want this to appear in my calendar every single week. And the status. So if you're talking about it, it's provisional, but for me, this is a confirmed residency and I'm going to get paid £10. Now, for certain gigs, it might be that you don't need to invoice. It's paid for automatically. So if you don't want this service to generate you an invoice, you just toggle that on. And ultimately, you just, it won't generate you an invoice. You select the currency and that's the end of it. And then you just need to mark it as paid because it keeps a track of what you're getting paid so that you can report on it later. If you're a mobile DJ, you might want a deposit. So you just toggle that on. This is the deposit amount. And then it will generate a deposit invoice. And then when you complete the gig, then it asks for the balancing invoice. But for this gig, we're not going to require a deposit. And then if you're a corporate DJ, you're probably going to need to put in a PO number. So that's where you toggle that on there. But for this, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. Let's add that booking. Now we have here the upcoming booking. Now, because I put it at 9 to 10 a.m. today, it's a past booking. It's already, the date and the time has passed. It's in the evening now. So right now, as you can see here, Sunday the 23rd of August at 9 a.m. is in my summary as a past booking. But because it's a residency, I'm also booked for next Sunday. So that's why it's also coming up as an upcoming booking up here. And if we go to my calendar, you can see here, I've added a few here. Sunday the 23rd is the Old Mill. And then next week as well, we also have the Old Mill. So it appears on a month by month basis. If we go to next month, all of those DJ bookings are now into the calendar. Now, the cool thing with this as well is that if you don't want to use this calendar, you can also sync it to Apple and Google Calendar at the touch of a button using this menu in the top right here. But that invoice needs to be generated because we have just we've done the gig, and so in our past bookings, we can say that this gig has now been completed. We're going to mark it as complete. I'm going to save it. And this is going to now draft our invoice. So you come over to the invoices tab and you can see here in drafts, we have our invoice ready to go. So you click on here. Here we have the invoice number, the due date, because I've set it to 30 days. And then we have our currency. As I mentioned before, you can change it. And if we want to put the PO number, because we didn't save it before, you can add it there. Check to make sure that your line items are all in there correctly. And if, for example, you had to stay on for an extra hour or you did some lights or anything like that, you can then add in some extra line items here if you want to. And now what I'm going to do, because I'm on the paid for plan, is I can email that invoice directly to my client. So it's preparing the invoice. Let's just have a look. Hi, the boss. Please see attached my invoice. And then you just simply click send, and that invoice is on its way to the client. Now what you can see is when we go back to our invoicing tab, you can see it's now in sent, and in bookings, we go down, we can see it's completed, and that gig has been invoiced. And if we go to our dashboard, we can now see that the outstanding money to me is £10 because I've just invoiced that client. And then if I head on over to my emails, we can see that that invoice is sat there, all there, ready to be paid. So that has worked absolutely perfectly. Now, once you are paid, what you would do is you go into invoices, and then you just mark it as paid, save the changes, you go to your dashboard, and now we can see that the revenue for August is £10 because it's not outstanding anymore. It is there as revenue, which is fantastic. Now, what you want to do, you might want to do is do some income reports. You want to see by client, for example, who's paid you the most by type. If you've got different service types, you can download that. You can put that into your accounting software, whatever you need to do with it. So very, very comprehensive. Now that is quite a comprehensive walkthrough, and I appreciate that it looks like a lot to take in. However, once you've got your business profile set up for the first time and you have added in a few different clients, things get a lot quicker and a lot easier with this app. So take, for example, that booking that we have just added. We've set that up as a weekly residency. So next time you log into the app, you don't need to add that booking. It's simply a case of going up to your up and coming bookings. Once the gig is complete, going into that booking and marking that gig as complete, saving it. And then you go to the invoices tab where you see that invoice has already been drafted. Then you click on that draft invoice, make sure all the details are correct, and then you send the invoice to the client or download it to send yourself. It is as easy as that. So things do get considerably quicker once you are initially set up on this app. For me, developing this platform has completely changed the game when it comes to developing efficiencies in my workflow on the business side of my DJing. It's so speedy, in fact, that by the time I have left my Friday night residency, by the time I've walked to the car, my client is already invoiced. So it is that fast. And I really hope that some of you out there will find benefits from this platform. As I have mentioned before, there is a complete workflow available within this app, completely free of charge. No credit card details, no obligation to upgrade, nothing like that at all. If you did want to upgrade for the paid plan, that includes the invoicing directly from the platform, as well as custom branding, custom email templates, and also as well custom invoice templates, then use my code KARLTHOMAS at checkout and you'll get 10% off of the yearly plan. It literally works out at like 27 pence a day, something silly like that. So it is really quite cost effective, but equally, if you're just starting out, then the free plan is going to be ample for you. Shout out to my members as always. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.